Morning. We are live here at the Gates of Hell in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Behind me is Tulsa Women's Clinic, and normally we're here, myself and other people from our local church are here on Tuesdays. Today, Monday, we're here because a new group of Christians from Kansas, from southeast Kansas, has decided to commit to coming every Monday to be here at the Gates of Hell and plead for the lives of our preborn neighbors, and also to preach the gospel to people. So we've been here, right now it is almost 10 a.m. We've been here since about 8:15, and the doors have been open since 9 a.m. And as you can see behind me, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 people have come here. And we've been trying to talk with them. You have about 7 to 10 seconds from when they get out of their car to when they go in. We're saying things such as, "Ma'am, I'm not sure why you've come here today, but you need to know that this is a place that murders babies. So would you please come and talk with us?" And you have about that long. And then if they won't listen, we usually cry out something to the effect of, "Please have mercy on your child. Your child wants to live. We'd love to help you." And then if you have enough time and someone's being very defiant, we have to warn them and say, "The Lord hates the hands that shed innocent blood." And there's no one more innocent than a baby inside a womb, no matter what stage of development they're at. So this place does all kinds of abortions, all of them. They do birth control IUDs, after the fact. If you've already had an abortion, then you can come back for your follow-up visit, and they'll do birth control and IUDs, which kill fertilized eggs, which is another way to say kills little babies. They do a pill abortion up to about 10 weeks, where they give you a pill that basically starves the baby to death in the womb. And then they give you another pill at a later time that basically forces the dead baby out, and that you discard it, most often in a toilet. They also do suction DNC. They will suck the baby out with a high-powered vacuum. And then they also do, if the baby's too big to use the vacuum to suck it into pieces, they will go in with clamps and they'll crush the skull, tear off the arms and the legs, tear off the torso into small enough pieces, and then they'll go in and scrape the dead baby, the murdered baby, out of the mother. So they do all of that here. This is not a medical facility. It's not a place that you go if you love children. This is not a place that you go just for prenatal care. This is a place that you go to murder babies. So we're here to plead with people. Josh Eaton is right over here. You can see he's a pastor of Cross Point Baptist Church. That's in the very southern part of Kansas, just over the border of Oklahoma. They're about an hour and 15 minutes from here in Tulsa. And Josh decided that he's going to commit every Monday to coming out here to Tulsa Women's Clinic, or to Planned Parenthood in Tulsa if Tulsa Women's Clinic is closed. So Josh is here. Standing next to him is our friend Tim. Tim has been coming here a long time, and up until recently, Tim was by himself every Monday and every Tuesday. He's the only one here at the mill. So we said, well, first priority then is to cover Monday and Tuesday and get a local church to adopt Monday and then a local church to adopt Tuesday. So far, that's been successful. By God's grace, some pastors and churches have said, you know what, we'll commit to being there. So we have a church now, and people that are also friends with Josh, who are not necessarily a part of his church, but other pastors even in that area who are coming with him all the way from Kansas, and they're coming here to cover Mondays. We've got a church that covers Tuesdays. Next up, we need a church that will step up and say, we will cover Wednesday. We'll make sure that we are there every Wednesday so that no one ever walks in to sacrifice their child without being offered help and hearing the gospel, and that baby's life being pled for. People need to know that the Lord hates the hands that shed innocent blood, and that we're told to rescue those being carried off to death. People need to know that. They need to know that Jesus died for murderers. They need to know that Jesus died not so that we would continue in our wickedness, but so that we would be forgiven of our wickedness and we would be cleansed, and by the power of God's Spirit we would live a new life. So Jesus didn't die so that we would keep on sinning deliberately. Jesus died so that we'd be forgiven and reconciled, made right with God, and we'd walk away from our former life that loved death. Proverbs 8:36 says, "All that hate the Lord love death." So what we're doing right now, when most people are already inside, the people that have been scheduled to come here, they're already inside. And so the death escorts that are here, these people who volunteer their time to come and escort people in to murder their children, most of the people are already here. And so we're trying to talk with people, but in between that, when people aren't here and they're all inside, we're just reading the Word of God aloud. So right now we're in Romans chapter 2. We started in chapter 1, and the goal is to read through the entire book of Romans. As while the death escorts are here, they don't stop yelling at us and cussing at us and saying all sorts of vile things at us. So usually we just combat that with singing praises to God. We just got finished singing 3 or 4 hymns, and now we're just reading the book of Romans out loud so that they would hear the Word. This is a man right here in this car who just dropped off a woman to come to a place that murders babies. Drops off a woman. She goes inside to a place that kills babies, and he just leaves. That's not a man, that's a boy. That's not an honorable man, that's a coward. But this is what happens all the time. So right now we're reading the book of Romans aloud, reading the Word of God, because the Word of God doesn't return void. And as these death escorts that are here are saying vile things, just evil things, we want to combat that with proclaiming the Word of God and singing His praises. So we've got guys here, and Mondays are now covered at Tulsa Women's Clinic. This is just a small part of us obeying Proverbs 24:11 to rescue those being carried off to death. This is a small part of it. We need to be doing it by rejecting incremental pro-life bills that basically say you can kill your baby as long as it's under 5 weeks, or as long as you can't detect a heartbeat, or things like that. We need to reject the approval of murder. Any kind of incremental pro-life bill that says you can murder your baby only if you jump through these hoops, all that is approving of murder. We have to reject that. We also need to demand that our governing authorities who represent us, that they establish equal justice. You have state senators and House representatives in your state who represent you. You need to lobby them. You need to talk to them and tell them what God says concerning what the role of government is, and that they are to be a terror to evildoers in order to protect the good, and they are to show no partiality to the wicked. Right now, in every state in the United States, the governing authorities are showing partiality to mothers who are allowed to murder their children. God says, do not show partiality to the wicked. Judge righteously. Establish what we're calling for is for our governing authorities to make it illegal to kill babies. It's illegal to kill me. That law should be applied equally to all humans. So that's all we're saying. You need to tell your governing authorities to establish equal justice. And remember that they work for you. You pay their salaries. They represent you. You elected them. They represent your district, your area. So reject the approval of murder. Demand your governing authorities establish equal justice. You need to reject any kind of medicines that murder babies and any kind of medicines that were produced from murdered babies. So do some research and see which kind of birth control pills and things like that actually kill babies. You'll be shocked at the findings. And research the medicines that we have that people use without thinking about it that actually were produced from murdering babies. We have to reject that and have no part in the murder of babies. The next thing we need to do is this. Until it is illegal to murder children, every abortion clinic needs to have people out in front of it preaching the gospel, pleading with people, begging them not to kill their children and offering them help, as we're doing even today. And lastly, you individually, whatever sphere of influence you've got, use it. Use whatever influence you've got with whoever you can talk to, and you have to proclaim the horrors of abortion. Point out the horrors of what's happening. In our state, 15 to 20 babies are murdered every single day. We're the most conservative state in the union, in Oklahoma. You have to proclaim the horrors of abortion and point out the horrors of it, and then point everyone to Christ crucified. That is how we can appropriately obey Proverbs 24:11, which Jesus demands us rescue those being carried off to death. So I just simply ask you, are you obeying Proverbs 24:11? Christian, Jesus has rescued you who are being carried off to death. And then he commands you in a smaller way to go and rescue others. There's nothing more clear than what's happening at places like this, what's happening through abortifacient birth control and IUDs and Plan B, all of those kind of pills and surgical abortions. There's nothing clearer than those are people that are being led to the slaughter. Those are little image bearers, our neighbors, that are being killed. So what are you doing? I ask you to get involved. God doesn't need your good works, but your preborn neighbors do. Get involved in an abortion clinic near you. Get involved legislatively. Reject pro-life incrementalism and embrace immediatism that would establish equal justice, which is consistent with the Word of God. Reject murderous medicines and murder-sourced medicines. Come to the murder mills and proclaim the good news of the gospel and offer help. And proclaim the horrors of abortion. Point everyone to the cross. Pray with us and for us, if you would, who are out here. Ask God to rescue babies. As we've been praying here, for everybody that pulls in, we'll stop and just pray for them. As one person typically is talking to them, the other people just stop and pray and are asking God to rescue babies. Pray with us now, if you would. Pray for God to rescue babies, not just in Tulsa, but all over. And that even at the gates of hell, parents would change their mind and decide not to murder their children. Pray with us and pray for God to rescue babies and to rescue sinners and save them for Christ's sake. Thanks for watching. Pray with us and for us.